I had avocados and tomatoes and spinach. I used to take like
Sure.
2 to 3 cups of spinach every day, like with my eggs. And within 10 minutes, I hurt. And I spent the whole day hurting. And when you work one on one with people all day, that's awful. Just,
I'd like to welcome to the show Emily Holdcroft. How are you, Emily?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Great. Actually, I've been looking forward to this conversation. So, tell us a little bit of background about yourself and what led you to finding and then following an animal based diet.
Well, um, I've been a personal trainer, strength and nutrition coach for a little more than 13 years. And so I've always been very eager to learn. Like, you should never stop growing when it comes to both fitness and nutrition. And when you work one on one with people, there's not one approach that works for everybody. So I've explored all different things. And I also believe that you have to come from an authentic, experienced space to help guide people rather than, oh, I read this here. Um, but moving into carnivore, that was, I'm going to say last December. I have been dealing for many years, a lot of health issues, nothing that's going to shorten my life, but things that hurt, GI issues, immune issues, asthma, eczema, and chronic allergies, and food sensitivities. And I would go through phases of eliminating things to try to figure what the cause was. And there was never like a definitive answer. I had been exploring pretty exclusively keto for a good year and a half. So I was very fat adapted. And a friend of mine who is going through a weight loss journey had done the same, but he talked about this carnivore. And my first thought of that was it seemed extreme. What do you mean? Like, we're supposed to eat vegetables, and I understood about grains, but you can't not have vegetables. But he shared with me a lot of information, a lot of lectures. There was one by Chris Nobby, I think his name is, about seed oils, and I'm like, oh, look, that's really interesting. And then Anthony Chaffee's, hope I'm saying his name right. Plants Are Trying to Kill You. Another one, Fat Fiction. But Anthony's lecture about plants and their toxins really got my attention. And I did mention that in my first video, which was hard to make. But as I was watching, it really resonated. Like, I don't know, I need to look into this further. So I just started peeling out the remaining carbs in my diet. I had avocados and tomatoes and spinach. I used to take like
Sure.
2 to 3 cups of spinach every day, like with my eggs. And within 10 minutes, I hurt. And I spent the whole day hurting. And when you work one on one with people all day, that's awful. So when I took them out, the last piece was spinach. It took a day or two, and I noticed like right away, um, I don't feel awful. And I didn't stop there. I was just like very surprised. And then the whole concept that we've been fed, oh, we have to have fiber, we have to have all of these other nutrients. I'm going to be depriving myself of that. But I didn't feel deprived. Do you know what I'm saying? And I ended up stopped taking digestive enzymes. I don't know if you've ever, but I used to take a ton of them too.
Never taken them
Um,
myself.
Oh, I take lactase, I took stuff for everything because pretty much everything hurt. But I ended up like, I don't think I need this anymore. But anyway, the rest is history. It took several months for me to really find it with carnivore. I was kind of struggling with consistency. But when I did, that's when things really started to change. And I've noticed significant health benefits, namely those three issues, the immune issues. I don't have them anymore. And I'm the kind of person that will get a bout of asthma that will last weeks, and it'll happen a couple times a year. Nothing all year. I would need treatment for my hands. Nothing. I don't take vitamins anymore. I don't need it. I just feel like well nourished just on carnivore. So it's kind of hard to even think about eating any other way now.
Yeah, isn't it funny when you rid yourself of those conditions that you've lived with for so long, then the idea of actually going back there, it actually makes it really easy to kind of stick to what you're eating. I think it's one of those things that's missing with if you change your eating. Sometimes if you change what you're eating, it doesn't really change anything else other than you're just eating different food. But this is more of like this. It's such a compelling thing, and the same thing with GI issues for me. Although it doesn't sound as quite as bad as yours, but I just don't want to go back to feeling bloated
No.
and having diarrhea and constipation. Is like, no way, I'm not going back there.
Well, it's profound and it really affects things like that. Affect your mood. It affects your performance. I know you're into fitness too, and you know what that's like. Like, oh, great! I feel awful. I'm going to have a great workout today. That's um, but no, I'm glad that you as well. Can you tell me a little bit about how that's helped you?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing I noticed the most, or that I talk about the most, because it's the thing. It actually was the thing I wasn't really sort of going for when I switched to eating an animal based diet. So I was I was sort of generally after just being a more optimal human being, right? Because I'd seen what Jordan Peterson was saying about how it had improved his health, and I was like, yeah, I want some of that.
Hmm.
That's for me. But I was kind of like resigned to the fact, well, I was going to have occasional diarrhea, constipation, always feel gassy. It's like, oh, that's just part of being a human being. And then when it
Hmm.
disappeared, I thought, wow, that's awesome. Like I'm gonna keep doing this. I wasn't expecting that, and I'd bought into the whole thing. I was thinking, oh, I'm definitely probably going to get constipated here because there's no fiber in my diet. My wife was completely convinced that was going to happen, and then
Hmm.
but I'd heard enough people say, well, no, that's actually not the case. And then so do it as always, do an experiment, do it on yourself and see how it goes. And sure enough, no
Hmm.
problems at all, better
Hmm.
than ever. Yeah. So you mentioned that you'd had a few, like when you first started, there was sort of on again, off again a little bit. Can't quite remember what you said, but can you tell us about your experience? As you sort of went through, getting to the point where you're very consistent.
Well, I th- that was also that time coincided with a difficult period in my life. Just had nothing to do with fitness or um, health. I just was really struggling. And so I wanted to encourage my friend that was doing it. And I was very aware of the benefits. I just was having a hard time staying consistent because my heart wasn't completely in it. I still had some work to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just healing. And so that was frustrating because I would go like a period of time, a week or so, and be doing great. And then there would be some outside trigger that would upset me. And it was almost like, I'll be so candid here, like almost like self sabotaging. But all that said, I kept kind of going through a cycle of that. But it in the end, having keep repeating that was impetus to I have to stop and I have to put myself first, and I put more time into correcting here and here, and it just made it easier. And then once I just, okay, I got to stop harming or because it's kind of like if you know you have tools that can help you be healthier and feel better, why would you jeopardize that? But I think I got to the point where I'd had enough of not feeling great. The other benefit, and I love that you mentioned Jordan Peterson because I'd forgotten about that. Some of his talks about how carnivore, and this is before I even tried it, was how that impacted his emotional well-being. And I thought, well, I don't know. But I think that over time, somehow I wouldn't say it's exclusively that because I did a lot of work on myself. I have noticed that, like, I'm not as prone to sadness because I definitely was at that time. Um, but anyway, so I think I just kind of decided enough is enough, and
And
does that make sense?
did you have some go-to foods that were like comfort foods for you that were difficult to give up, or anything else? You know,
That
for
were
me,
off.
drinking was a bit of a problem for me at one stage that I had to give up.
A lot of people say that. You see, I have never enjoyed drinking. I've never had an interest in it, so that wasn't it. I have kids, right? And there's gonna be stuff in the house that's not great for you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, "Everybody eat carnivore," you know? That's not what they're used to. I think, honestly, the sweets, I always had, I wasn't a savory I never had a flavor for that. I always loved sweets. So, there would be some in the house, and, I think I would just have like I said, I'd have a moment where I'd just be bummed about whatever, and I would just say, "Ugh," and then I'd always feel awful, physically, but mentally too. I'm like, "Why'd you do that?" And, but I'm so glad because now I have it's not like I have lots in my house, but there's still stuff there. I make my children cookies, but I can do it with ease. I look at it like this is a gift for them. I mean, they enjoy it. I'm not gonna deprive them of it, but I can do it without batting an eyelash.
Did it take you a while to get to that point before you could go, okay,
Yeah,
you can have it around you and it's just not a problem? You've got like superior willpower if necessary.
um, I have, like, a backup, and I actually got a lot of criticism about it because I made a video about what I eat, and I've noticed this. Some people are really kinda hardcore about it, but one of the things that a treat that I would allow myself is because I looked into, like, different sweeteners. I know technically, like, aspartame, that I've found a soda that has that. I know it doesn't have an insulin trigger, it's not gonna and honestly, that was more important to me to stay level. I love being in ketosis. It's just awesome on so many levels. So I would get, like, Diet Sunkist, and I put heavy cream in it,
Oh,
and, it's like having a creamsicle. But so if I was having like a right? That would nix it, and all it is fat, right? The heavy cream is just fat. So you feel full, you get a little sweet taste. Okay, technically it's not perfect, but it helped. Like, and another one I found was, mascarpone cheese. I don't know
I've
if you ever
I've
tried
not tried
that.
that. No.
Oh my gosh. It's new to me, but it's just cheese, but it comes in a tub. And, every now and then, I'll have, like, a couple spoons of that spoonfuls of that and a little stevia. Again, it's not perfect, but if it helps me stay on track for those rare moments now that if I have that, I'm good. I
Yeah.
highly recommend trying if you have a sweet urge.
That's great because a lot of people don't really talk about, nobody's perfect, right? Oh, and you're right.
Right.
There is some dogmatic views, And I think that the reason for that is because some people were so ill that the idea of
Mhm.
leaving, even going a little bit off plan, is a very, very scary thing for them. So they just like, no, don't even
Sure.
talk. I don't want to even hear you talking about having anything else except for animal-based products at all. Don't talk
Right.
about artificial sweeteners to me. And I get that, but I think that
Mhm.
there's a place for, either to bridge, or like when you are, we all have these attachments to food. We have different relationships with food, and sometimes it is dependent on, some whatever emotions we've got going on. So to have a bridge that
Mhm.
allows you to somewhat satiate that want for something savory or sweet or whatever it is, without going completely off
Mhm.
the rails, I think is a good thing.
Right.
I don't discourage people from doing that if it keeps them sort of relatively on track.
Exactly. I mean, and if you work one-on-one with people, like, you're gonna find that nobody if you feel like there's something too big of a leap or that doesn't allow for a little bit of being imperfectly human, I mean, I get what you were saying about the people that their health, like, that some going off would impact them, but if you make something that feels too big of a hurdle for some people, they won't even try, right?
Mm.
Or they'll just, I can't do this." So it definitely helps me, um, but I find that that gets less and less the deeper into carnivore, the more time you spend eating that way, it's far less.
Yeah, it does. It is very gradual, isn't it? I used to we had this tradition in our family where the older boys, they weren't allowed any sweets during the week, but they could have whatever they could just basically binge on Fridays. It's because it's something that my wife did when she was a child, and
Mhm,
I would
okay.
participate in that. And then after it was before it was sort of more when I switched to keto before I went to carnivore. I would still have some, but it would be less. I'd like lower the volume down. Like I'm not eating a whole bag now. I'm just having a few, right? And
Mhm,
then after I switched to carnivore, it was a lot easier to say, I'm just not going to, because I just don't feel that great afterwards. It's just not worth the little dopamine hit that I get from whatever sugar's in there. It just wasn't worth it. But it was much easier just to
mhm,
let it go. But I still, if I can see it there, it was still a bit of a problem for me. So it was like, okay, well, if
sure.
you guys want to do this, fine. I'm not going to stop you from doing it, but just we're going to like hide this over here somewhere, so at least it's not in my face, all the time.
Well,
And
it
interestingly, they
helps.
have gradually given it up actually as well, and I haven't like tried to encourage them to do that, but maybe it's because they eat more meat. I don't know.
It changes everything. I admire people that I've been trying to learn. I never really learned how to cook. All those years I was a vegetarian, that's when I was, like, becoming an adult, and, although it's been many years now, I was married, my husband did all the cooking, I was quickly dismissed from the kitchen. So, the past 5 years, it's just been me and the kids, so I've had to learn, and meat is still a challenge, so it's like, yes, when I make a ribeye and it's not overly cooked or something. So I admire people who can just, you know?
Yeah, I think you've got to become a
Can you relate?
reasonable. Yeah, you've got to become a reasonable cook. Like I was always pretty good. My wife and I, we live in separate houses all the time. An interesting situation, but so I cook for myself all the time now. But
Mhm,
since switching to carnivore, I used I didn't really used to cook, even though I should say I used to prepare my own meals for a long time, and that would often be
mhm,
like a smoothie, spinach, protein powder, avocado, whatever. And I would consider that to be a meal, but it didn't require any cooking really. And then a lot of like processed food, you don't need
yes,
to cook that either. But
right.
you got to learn how to at least cook a little bit. You got to at least learn how to cook, like ground beef in a pan, like
Yes,
for
no, I'm getting
starters.
better. I just you see some of the, people that make these gorgeous steaks and just I tried searing. I set off my my smoker. I'm like, "Well, okay, I have some room to grow with," but it's been fun is my point is like, especially red meat. that was always something, and maybe I had a hang up about it because I never was successful. And when you have, because you have 4, I
Yeah.
have 2. And if I'm in the kitchen cooking, and you know how this goes, like you get distracted with this or that, with just family life. Next thing you know, it's like, what just happened? I ruined something. So that's a process. The
So
air fryer is great.
oh yeah, the air fryer. Yeah, that can save it saves everybody. I think the air fryer, the
No
pressure
smoke, at
cooker.
least.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to use one of those, but I'm learning.
yeah. So what is your favorite kitchen appliance? It's sounding like it's the air fryer, but is that the one you use the most?
Um, no, honestly, the majority of what I eat is eggs. I love eggs first because they're easy, and so that's like my main. I have eggs every single day, and I have them with. I have a container where I store all my filtered bacon fat. So I cook my eggs in bacon fat with a little goat cheese. So it's more over the stove. So I'm stepping up if I turn the oven on. So I don't. I will have either burgers, which I'll make over the stove, if or a steak, I might in the oven. But beef's expensive, so I try to kind of spread that out. The air fryer is for bacon,
Oh, you
so
cook air fry in the bacon. You don't do it in the pan with the eggs.
it ends up being really messy,
Yeah,
and I find
true.
that mine is perfect. Like I can set a timer. And I love saving the fat. I don't know why. Every time I do it,
Oh, it's
I
good.
get my filter out, and um, so it's neat for lack of a better reason than that.
Yeah. So do you have one of the Ninja air fryers like that kind of thing? What's yours?
Oh no, this thing,
You
I
got a
don't know the brand, but it's big. I never had one before, so when I went to like Best Buy to purchase one, I just was like, I didn't really know, so I just got the biggest one I could. But I can put like a package of bacon in and whatever, set the timer and go. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so lazy. So anything that's fast and easy is I'm down with that. Like I've recently discovered the crock pot, and I love that because you throw it in, bit of water, whatever seasons you want, it literally prepared in 30 seconds.
Oh.
But I've been cooking it for two. Like I was speaking to another guest, Nia from Nia's Way, and I was trying to figure out what I've been doing wrong because even though it was covered with liquid, it was still kind of dry. And because I was cooking it for too long, I'm pretty sure. So next time I'll do it
Oh.
slow, like a cut of meat for like 6 hours. And I'm keen to, yeah, try that out. But I love anything that's super fast because I don't know. The whole human race doesn't like to do anything really, do we? But I'm especially lazy.
Well, it just depends on how busy your life is,
Yeah.
and I work for myself, so I'm on the go, and so I what I won't do anymore is shortchange the quality. I
Mm.
just pick things that I know are good, that work for me, and keep it as simple as possible. But every now and then, like the slow cooking, I don't have a crock pot, but I have made short ribs, and it takes like several 4 or 5 hours on like 200 or something, and
Hmm.
then it's just decadent. But that's like a special. Okay, I've got time to be at home and relax and make it.
You just reminded me, I bought pork ribs for the very first time yesterday. I love how you get to try out all these different cuts of meat, right? There's still loads of them I haven't even
Yeah.
tried yet. But for the first time, I bought pork ribs and I'm going to cook those. Actually, somebody in my community told me how I should cook them. So I'm going to put them
Uh,
in the slow cooker and then finish them off in the air fryer. So I'm keen. After
Ooh.
we finish our conversation, I'm going to try that out.
Oh,
Um,
tell me about it.
yeah, I will. I'll probably make a short out of it or something like that as well. Now, I wanted to ask you about exercise because obviously you are a very fit person, and there's there's a lot of people in my community who have limited mobility, and I often get the question, what kind of exercises can I do if I've got bad knees, bad elbows, arms, whatever? Do you work with people in that sort of situation, and do you have anything that you can recommend to people?
Well, it's totally person dependent and issue dependent, but I will just say, I'll preface this in saying everybody has something or stuff. I don't think anyone doesn't have like an old injury that's still nagging, shoulder injuries, knee injuries, or pain, back pain. By and large, there's always a way around it. With the question is about working with people with issues. It really is dependent on what they can do and building around, like, sometimes it involves reteaching somebody how to, uh, right from the top. Most people stand with this, like this kind of posture where we drive or we're at a desk, getting people upright. Like, you wouldn't believe how many problems that comes from this. That tight shoulder, tight chest, long upper back. People get neck issues, shoulder issues. So depending on the person, I sit down and I talk with them and evaluate, obviously their goals, because goals drive training. Where do you want to go? You look at where they've been and find a path to get them in that direction. But usually when someone has like chronic, say, knee pain, more times than not, it's not from a traumatic event from like an injury to their knee. It's usually an issue either at the joint below or above. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Either from their feet, oftentimes it's their hip. And so I'll kind of break that down with each person. Also, another big thing is people have extremely limited flexibility. No, people don't stretch. Um, People don't do mobility work. It's not glamorous. It's not on Instagram. It's people tend to focus on like muscles in the front of the body. Because I heard somebody say this a long time ago. I thought it was great. The muscles in the front are the aesthetic ones. I know that's oversimplification, but aesthetic. So chest day, biceps, and they're neglecting their back. So the muscles in the back are your athletic muscles. So you really want them strong, strong back, strong glutes, strong core. Um, so I think with anyone that has issues and maybe is just starting, is that what you were asking?
Yeah, yeah.
Is is there are fundamental movements everyone should have? Like, we all need to be able to sit to stand, right? That's a squat. Like, just for daily function, we need a squat, right? We need to be able to get up and down with ease. We need a hinge, right? That's the back side. Um, we need to push. It can be anyone. um, any push, any pull. And so if you have a shoulder issue and overhead work is hurting, right? Let's find a push that's pain-free. Um, if you need to learn how to do it differently or activate muscles back here, um, build on what they can do and build strength that way. Not creating things that make someone feel like, oh, I can't do that. You have to build on where they are.
Great. That's really useful. And do you personally have a favorite exercise that you like that you've always enjoyed doing at the gym, or do you have a current favorite?
A single one? No, no. I don't really. I do those five. Like, if I'm going to do a full body workout, which I typically break it up. It just depends on the week and how much time I have. But I make sure I have. If I'm going to do my whole body, I will do one push. one pull, one type of squat. Maybe it's a leg press. Maybe it's, you know what I'm saying? Or in some kind of hinge. And one thing for my core, I'll do them well. I'll do them 2 or 3 times and call it a day. Simplicity is the name of the game. Like, you don't wanna go into a gym and say, "Oh, I need, like, 12 exercises." That's not necessary. You know what I'm saying?
We have a very similar philosophy there. That's those four things. I mean, I'm not a trained exercise physiologist or anything, but it's always those four. It's some sort of squat. Usually, it's going to be pull. Would be chin ups. Some sort of push is going to be push ups or bench, and then core. Yeah, that's so funny that you said exactly what my workout is.
In core, like, it's not like I teach people to create stiffness. People think like, "Oh," I never say, "Oh, I'm working my abs." Like, that's just it irritates me because your core is a system, right? It's every muscle in your trunk through your hips because they will all work together as a team to protect your spine, right? So to train it in that way is gonna keep you safer, resilient to any kind of injury. Um, so I guess if I had to, I would say plank anything. And not holding planks. That you hear that a lot? I
Oh,
think if you can hold for 30 seconds, you're good. Like, change something about it to make it harder. Do you ever hear that, "Oh, I can hold a 5-minute plank"?
yeah, my
I
sons
don't
like to brag
think
about
that's
how long they can hold a plank for. Yeah,
that's endurance. It becomes an endurance activity once it's over, like, a minute. So, and you can clearly do it if you're doing it well. You should change something about it to make it more brief. That will make you stronger. You know,
yeah, great.
what's
Uh,
your favorite exercise?
um,
I have to come back with a
Yeah, I know.
question
It's funny.
too.
I asked that question and I was sort of asking myself the same question at the same time. I thought, well, yeah, I don't really have a favorite and it does change. I did frog jumps last week and they were really fun. Would I do them again soon? Yeah, I'm not so sure. I do like doing push ups. And especially weighted push-ups and because there's so much variety. I like bear crawls. I
Mhm.
always do bear crawls as a warm-up, and it's like my training partner never looks forward to them, but I always look forward to them.
Nobody likes them.
Yeah,
Those are great.
yeah, and I like pull-ups too. I think that
Mhm.
there's lots of different variety. Some neutral grip, overhands. I can't underhand is a little bit painful, so I don't do them that way generally. But yeah,
Mhm.
I like to be able to think that if I can do 15 pull-ups in a row until the day I die, then that's pretty much gonna guarantee that I will have a strong back, and those important pulling muscles until that time. It's a great
Yes.
exercise. You can do it in so many places. You don't need to be at a gym. You can generally find a place you can do a pull-up.
Yes. Any playground, the monkey bars, like the
Yeah,
kids.
yeah,
But no, that's a very good point. It's so simple, but so very effective.
yeah.
So to be able to do that, yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I have a chin-up bar. Well, actually, two in my house. I don't really use them in the house, but I used to have one because my older son was learning how to do. He just started doing chin-ups. Like when his hormones kicked in, all of a sudden he started getting stronger, right? And he was like, "Oh wow, Dad, I can do chin-ups." Anyway, so
Mhm.
my 5-year-old daughter wanted me to always lift her up to the to the chin-up bar because she was watching her brother do it and watching me do it, and now she's got her own one in her room that
Good
that
for her.
that they're constantly hanging off. Like they're constantly jumping off it, doing swings, and although it's such a great exercise, like she'll hang off it with her legs. And I thought, wow, she's doing a full body workout here just with that bar. Like just I thought
Yes.
it's a great thing to have around if you can get one in your house.
What kids are funny because they don't have most kids don't haven't developed poor movement habits. Have you noticed that? Like, when a child first starts walking, they have the most impeccable squat
Mm.
on the planet. Have you noticed, like a baby?
Yeah.
And kids, they're not thinking. They're busy anyway, right? They're active. Um, so they don't overthink things or to have time to be afraid. They're just like, let's go do it. And I love that with your daughter.
Yeah, she's on it like 100 times a day easily. She's very energetic, so it's great. It's like, okay, go on, go and hang off the bar for a bit. So something I always ask my guests is, what is the biggest health challenge that you are facing at the moment, if you have any?
I'm actually very healthy. Well, I have a spine thing that I was born with that is permanent. Like, do you know what spondylolisthesis is?
Is that like the curvature? No, that's no, no. Sorry, I
I
don't.
have
You'll have
that
to explain
too.
it.
I, I actually have scoliosis in two different places in my back. Not huge, but it's there. But spondylolisthesis is a forward moved vertebra.
Right.
And so I guess I found this out in my 30s that the backing of my a couple of my lower lumbar vertebra just weren't formed correctly. So it just broke. And so that can be problematic, but having surgery in that area is not ideal. And so that honestly, that just bolsters my commitment every day to making sure that I am strong because that's something like I have to permanently work around, like we were talking about. Everybody has something, but eh, I don't really look at it as a health problem. It's just something I have to keep in mind about. But other than that, no, I feel like carnivore just put all this the annoying health issue, like little things that were with me for so long aren't even relevant now, which I just think is crazy. It's such a gift.
Mm.
Um, so I don't really have any. Thank you.
Good. Well
You
done.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You just reminded me that when I was a kid, even from before I was a teenager, I lived in the bush, so worked on a farm, and my dad worked for the farm that we lived on, and he had chronic back issues. He was very tall, like 6'4", and quite rounded shoulders, and he was constantly having to go to the chiropractor, and I remember watching him, sort of the pain he was often in, thinking, I never want to be that. And that was actually one of the really
Mhm.
big motivating factors for me to get into lifting weights and doing that sort of thing. And I thought, well, that's like the prevention of never having to deal with that issue. And it still kind of
Yes.
is a background motivating factor for me now. At 52, I still feel like, okay, if I just keep doing this, I can just keep using my body the way I do and forever. I really believe that's the gift that resistance training gives to you, among other things. But it really does keep your body in tip-top shape, and not so that you have to deal with sort of those old age issues.
A lot of people say that. Yet that's a common belief that, oh, once you turn this age, it's downhill. And that's nonsense. You can build muscle at any age. And I love that you said that because it is. It's not like a cure all. I mean, things might happen. People get cancer or something, but that is your absolute best defense from getting hurt. And I totally get that. Some of you care about suffering that leaves a mark. Like I don't want to be in those shoes.
So, what advice would you have for 30-year-old Emily?
For 30-year-old Emily,
Hmm.
um, on a personal level or just all around, um,
Whatever comes to mind first.
um, hold on to your convictions, right? Like listen to your gut and don't let anyone tell you not to follow your heart or pursue something that you really want. If something's going to make you happy, go do it. Don't put it off. You know, I did. So I,
Yeah,
uh, I,
I'm sensing
I
that
changed
that's coming.
careers in my 30s. No, I did. In my 20s, I had like a very insurancy job, and you're just trying to make money as a young adult. And I always loved and was passionate about fitness, but people would be, "Oh, that's dumb." And yeah, but just I'm like, you know what? No, I actually really want to do that. I really want to help people. But I listen to people say, "No, don't do that. You know that's not going to make any money, and that's risky." And I just wish I had done it sooner. If I, so if there's something that's calling on your heart to do and pursue, go do it.
I wanted to ask about your journey into becoming a content creator and what made you start your own YouTube channel.
Um, a friend of mine pushed me to. I'm a musician too. I sing. I'm good in person, but putting on a camera is like we were joking about before. My cheeks hurt. Like I feel kind of shy in that context. But a friend of mine pushed me. Said you should sing. Just pick something, play it, sing it. I'm used to performing with great professionals, so not me playing, which is I'm just a student with piano.
Mm-hmm.
So two things that are scary. Oh my god, I'm singing in my room playing, and it's just so naked, right? And raw. But my friend said you really should do that. And you should start making fitness videos. And again, I've my comfort zone is in a gym. It's one-on-one with somebody or teaching a class. That context, I'm free, but to make videos was really scary. And so a friend of mine just so it was kind of awkward for me. Like I would just put a video out, and it would take me like 20 takes to say a 30-second intro. Just I'm just being on it, and it would take me like a whole day just to okay, I've filmed it and then I got to edit, and I found that overwhelming. And again, I have my own business, my kids, so it's like I'm like, okay, I'm going to try. And the big push, I mean, it grew a little bit, and but the big push was you have to make this carnivore video. And that was hard because that's the most speaking I had done, and it would have to come from like a very like candid. I was very candid. It but it took me a couple of weeks to get the nerve to do it, and I just literally sat down on the floor. I'm like, I'm just going to talk and let's see what happens. But I wanted to I didn't have any idea anyone would even see it. But if it did, I was just hoping that my little experience, maybe that would help somebody. And I just was completely shocked by all of the people that wrote comments like, "Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've gone through this, this, and this." I just didn't realize it. So now I'm even more inspired. I'm still shy, but still gonna take me a day to make a video, but so I'm not as experienced obviously as yourself, but I think, I do better when I go with, "Okay, this is on my mind. I have something to say." I wouldn't just make a video for the sake of it. I would wanna share something, hopefully of value, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But not just
Well, that's how I
so
found you.
you won't
Actually,
see
was that
cooking shows.
no question.
That's like the Swedish Chef. Do you remember The Muppet Show?
Yeah,
Or was it
yeah,
The Muppet Show?
yeah, yeah.
That's me. Hurdy, hurdy.
Now we're showing our age talking about that because there's people in. I've talked to people about that before, and they're like, What's the Muppets?"
Like I'm a product of the 70s, and it was a great era,
Absolutely. Yep.
But you
Yep.
get it. You get it.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So I'm sure people are going to have questions for you, Emily. So, what's the best way for them to learn more about what you do and how to get in touch with you? And if you've got anything going on, programs wise, you can tell us all about that too.
Well, uh, email is wonderful. I actually did have somebody reach out to me for like an online consult. The majority of what I do is in person, either nutrition coaching or training, but I do have the capacity to and would totally welcome helping anyone that needs help through this medium. I don't have like a program. I don't It's very individual. So if I take a person's goal, if they have a goal that they need help with and they want to reach out to me, talk to me about it. Let's have a conversation first. And that would be, I think, the best way. Do you want me to say my email or can you
It's
share it?
it's entirely up to you.
Um, the,
This is
I
your
hope you
this is
can
your
cut this out.
opportunity, Emily. You can plug anything you want right now.
Oh, well, just if we could share my email
Yeah, I'll put
in
I'll
the
put that in the description if you want as well.
that would be great. They're welcome to email me and we can take it from there.
All right. Okay, terrific. And do you have any last message that you'd like to leave the viewers with before we wrap it up?
Last messages? Well, if you're not feeling your very best, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you've got health issues, there's no wrong time to change. There's no wrong time to get better. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. But if there's something that you are not happy about with yourself, um, just take small steps, whether it's food. You can take baby steps into eating better. It doesn't have to be carnivore, it could be just anything. Little steps, consistent good choices that are small, that repeated over and over again equals success, not the big, you don't have to go all or nothing. And the same thing applies with training. Start small, keep it simple, but there's no reason why you can't. Your best days, your best health is not behind you; it's in front of you.
I love that. It's been my pleasure having you on the show today, Emily. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Rod. I appreciate it.